So everybody might get a little something that tells you it's recording and you'll just have to say okay, but that's for folks who aren't able to join. So first, thank you so much for coming. I'm really excited to have you here and for your enthusiasm in this project. Can everybody see the slides that I'm sharing? Just give me a thumbs up if you can see them. Perfect, thank you. Okay, I'm just gonna dive right on in. So here's the agenda for tonight. I'm going to do very quick welcome and introductions. Then I'm going to give you an overview of the Percent for Art process here. And I'm going to talk specifically about the artwork that's going to take place at Riverview Wellness Village. And then I'll go over the application and project requirements. That's all probably going to take about 30 minutes. And then we're going to save the last half of this hour for your questions and answers. So yeah, just try to let me get through my presentation because I might answer your questions, and then just save anything that you have for the end. So real quick, I'm Paige Phillips. I'm a Percent for Art project manager at Creative Philadelphia, also an artist. I love working with artists and I'm super excited about this project. The public art director, Margaret England, who the photo you can see on the left wasn't able to join us tonight, but she says hi and she's happy that you're all here, but I do have one colleague with me, Marie, and if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name's Marie. I am also a Percent for Art project manager, working on some other projects, but here to support you and help answer your questions as well. Nice to see you all.
Thanks, Marie. And I wish we had time for all of you to introduce yourself, but unfortunately, we do not. But hi, thanks for being here. Um, okay, so Percent for Art, just in case you don't know what that is. The City of Philadelphia's Percent for Art program commissions beautiful and enduring artworks which reflect the diversity of Philadelphia's residents and visitors, its rich cultural landscape, its many histories, and the variety of public spaces in Philadelphia's communities. Eligible city-funded renovation or construction projects trigger the city's Percent for Art ordinance. Percent for Art designates 1% of the total project cost to site-specific permanent public art. Funding for the city's Percent for Art program goes directly to artists to create the artwork. So basically what that means is anytime there's construction or renovation on a government-owned property in Philadelphia, if that budget is over $1 million, we have to put 1% of that budget toward a new public artwork. So we actually have a lot of new commissions regularly coming up. And so that could be anything from a rec center to a library to a fire station. Riverview is an example of something that's a little bit more unique. A water pump station, like anything like where the government touches, even the airport, they all qualify for Percent for Art projects. And Philadelphia actually happened to be the first city to create a Percent for Art program, and it started in 1959, but these exist all over the country now. So really quickly, I'm just going to give you a run through of some of the projects that we've made over the years. They're some of my favorites. We have hundreds of them, but I'm just going to show you a few to give you a variety of everything that we've worked on. And I think it's also kind of fun to just see how things have changed over the years. And then I'm going to stop and talk a little bit more about the more recent ones and how community engagement has played a part, because that's going to be really important for your application. So here we have Free Interpretation of Plant Form by Eugene Feldman, Mother and Child See the Moon by Evelyn Kaiser, Regional Ricky by Stuart St. Paul, one of my favorites, followed by my absolute favorite, Monster Capital Fountain by Peter Rockwell. This is Norman Rockwell's son. Looking Toward the Future, Looking Toward the Past by Charles Searles, Flying Floors by Vito Acconci, Indelible by Allison Sky, Recreation by Kate Common. I might get some of these names wrong. River of Life by Ma Masayuki Nagasa. Discovery Center Gates by Warren Holtzman. When I started here, I was really surprised to see that this was one of the Percent for Art projects because I love the Discovery Center. And yeah, these gates are beautiful. My Philadelphia Story by Won Kyung Lee and Matthew Alden Price. And just real quick to let you know what's going on here, they worked for over 2 years to collect stories from 600 people who live in Philadelphia, just narratives about their lives. And then they found objects that those people owned that symbolically represented the narratives that they were collecting and then put them together. Flying Carpet by Ava Blitz. MVP by Brian McCutcheon, Weaver's Knot Sheep Bend by Ball Nagoy's studio. If you're familiar with Philadelphia and you know where Cherry Street Pier or French Arts is, that's where this is located. And the artists were really interested in the fact that textile production had been really popular at one point in this neighborhood. And so this represents a weaver's knot, which is used in textile production. And then they also said each one of these balls can symbolize how we are individuals, but we come together to create a community. This is our most recent addition to our collection, Up, Up, and Away by Serena Saunders. And I want to talk just a little bit about how community engagement was used in this process. So when Serena was one of the finalists, what she submitted was this design minus the little paintings in between. It was just the colorful abstract shapes. And then the feedback that she got from the committee who was helping select the artwork was, well, we love it, but what does it have to say about Philadelphia specifically? Because this was in the international airport and people wanted folks when they come in to feel like, oh, I'm getting an understanding of what Philadelphia is. So she changed up her concept a little bit and she decided that anyone across Philadelphia could submit photos that would be painted and integrated into the artwork. And so now you can see little splotches of that highlight the culture here. And then on the zoomed in image on the right, you can see a closer up detail of that. And then this is an upcoming project. This hasn't happened yet. These are just, 3D renderings of the artwork, but it's called The Center by Diamond Whipper Young and Michael Coppage. I think this is a really creative use of community engagement. So this statue is of a young woman. She's made up that this is not like a specific woman. However, the hands around this ring are actually going to be uh, hands of people who live in the neighborhood. So we ran an event called Vere's Helping Hands, where over the course of a month, people from the neighborhood who use this recreation center could nominate individuals who were helping hands, people who had made a large impact. We had a youth category, one for female leadership, male leadership. One for people who were over 60, and then there was one woman who received over 60 nominations. So we let her be in it. And then through this process, we had a lottery system, and we picked the 5 people who are going to be actually represented in the sculpture. So you'll see when I start talking about the questions in your application that you'll have to talk about how you can engage the community in your process to create the artwork. Not that it has to look necessarily like either of these examples that I just said. You should be as creative as possible. Don't limit yourself. But I think, this can help you start to think outside of the box because I often think people will say, oh, community engagement. If I'm making a mural, maybe I'll have people help me paint that mural. But really, it can be so much more than that. Very creative. So feel free to think outside of the box and figure out how people can foster ownership over the artwork that they'll be living with. Okay, so what is the actual opportunity at Riverview Wellness Village? This project will consist of 2 to 3 site-responsive sculptures, each thoughtfully shaped by its surroundings, whether natural, architectural, or cultural. And I'll just pause there to say it's really up to you, 2 to 3. To we wanted to give the artist, whoever is picked, a little room to say, well, conceptually, maybe it would make more sense to have 3. Maybe they have to be a little smaller, or maybe up to you that you would just want to have 2 for whatever reason. So artworks will be permanent, designed to last more than 50 years, and constructed from durable materials such as stone, metal, wood, concrete, or other natural elements. And not that it has to be one of those, don't limit yourself. It just needs to be something like non-experimental, not something like mud that's going to decay, but something that would be around for 50 years and wouldn't require too much maintenance. Because unfortunately, we actually can't go out and maintain our sculptures every year. So it needs to be something that would be conserved, think more in the range of every 3 to 5 years. The artworks will have a contemporary aesthetic that reflects the aspirations of the Riverview community. Um, so I'll say I'm really excited about this. Creative Philadelphia has done a lot of sculptures, like figurative monument sculptures, and so we're not necessarily looking for something like that this time. This is an opportunity to be very playful and creative. And artists may also consider interactive or kinetic elements that enhance engagement, such as touchable surfaces, seating, walkthrough features, or gentle movement. I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. So here's an aerial view of the campus. So Riverview Wellness Village, uh, it has been around for about a year and a half, and it's a residential facility for people who are recovering from substance use, specifically opioids. And so people who come here, they've, I think, gone through a 90-day treatment program. And so now this is an opportunity where they can receive care but live more independently before they're ready to, move on. Uh, and the site, I think, was built in the 1950s. You can see this part that's faded. This is the part that already existed. And the purpose of the complex originally, it was a center for elder care, folks who couldn't necessarily support themselves, but it has been abandoned, I think, for a few years. And then Riverview came and took it over. And then this part that's more colorful right here, this is representing the new construction that's happening so that they'll be able to add more beds. And then if you can see this yellow highlight right here, this is indicating the path where we want the sculptures to go. So not that the sculptures would literally go on the path, but like somewhere off to the side. And again, you would pick 2 or 3 spots along that. That would be up to you. We are going to encourage the artists to put one on the old campus and one on the new campus to try to integrate them. Again, that's not a requirement. It's just something that like the architects and the staff have mentioned might be nice as a way to connect the two. But if there's some reason in your concept why you need them to be all together, that would be okay. And then here are just a few renderings and photos of the campus to give you an idea of how beautiful it is. So this is part of the construction that hasn't happened yet. And then here are some photos of the current campus. And I actually don't think that these photos do the campus justice. Marie and I and a couple of my other colleagues took a site visit there and were just absolutely blown away by how beautiful it was. You can't really tell in this photo, but the river, you see those like little blue splotches back there. In person, it actually looks way closer, and you go outside and there's a really beautiful breeze, and the architecture. I'm not an architect expert. I feel like it was mid-century, but it was so much natural light when you walked through, and there were so many places where just from floor to ceiling there were windows, and I was just very impressed. Marie, I don't know if you have anything to say about your time there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just echo everything that you said. You know, the Delaware River is right there, and you can like almost like smell the ocean, which is something I really love about being in Philly. Um, and yeah, it was just lush and gorgeous, and they use this path on a regular basis. This is where residents can go outside, go for a walk. That main that building there, the large square one, is the main meeting house, which is where like a lot of activity happens.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for pointing that out. Part of the reason why we chose this walking path is because not only when people are using it outside would they be able to pass it, but yeah, this is the cafeteria right here, and this is right next to it a game room. And so when you look outside of it, you have an amazing view. And then even behind that backdrop would be the river that you can see very clearly. And then you can see all of the trees and stuff. So part of this project, there is not only an architect, but a landscape architect, and they've put a lot of emphasis on making the outside beautiful. Okay, so we have a committee for this project who will ultimately be deciding who the winning artist is. And the committee consists of two arts professionals, residents of the facility, staff of the facility, city council rep, um, somebody just from the broader neighborhood who lives close by, and oh, there was someone else. Oh, and the architect and the landscape architect. And so I previously met with them and we came up with guiding goals. So you can decide, maybe if this is a project that you would be interested in working on, these are some of the themes that you should be considering when developing your artwork. So foster connection. The artwork should create a sense of belonging, helping residents feel personally seen, bringing them together through shared experience, and connecting them to something larger by honoring the site's history. Support reflection and healing. The artwork should evoke tranquility and introspection while encouraging residents to engage with their emotional or spiritual well-being. References to the natural world can support this goal. I'll just say people were really into that part of it, like the nature aspect of it, because it is really beautiful, as we had just mentioned. And so like I remember someone said, Mother Nature is the original artist. I'm going to keep going. Encourage interaction. The artwork should allow for moments of engagement, whether through seating, shelter, movement, or symbolic gestures. Interactive and immersive elements should foster ownership, helping people feel empowered, welcomed, and invested. I would say this is one of the most important things that they talked about that they seemed really excited about. So, not necessarily just something to look at, but something they could interact with, be surrounded by. One woman specifically wanted the artist to include a wishing well that somebody could toss something into. I politely had to say, well, I can't say that necessarily because that's not giving enough creative freedom for the artist, but that can give you an idea that people are looking for something interactive. Next, embody the journey of recovery. The piece should support and reflect the process of recovery, which is not a fixed state, but a continuous journey. And everybody just emphasized how it would be very important for you to get to understand what the recovery experience looks like, maybe spending some time at the facility or talking to the residents. Uh, it should also integrate with the environment. The artwork should harmonize with the landscape, river, and campus infrastructure. It should celebrate the site's architectural heritage and natural beauty, enhancing, not competing with the environment. So I don't think they're necessarily looking for something bold and loud and crazy, where you walk by and you see something dazzling, full of color that maybe is in crazy juxtaposition to how beautiful the campus is. I think they want it to feel a little bit more harmonious. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have this committee. A lot of them are not artists, so I like to give them examples of the kind of artwork that's coming to their space to help them think through what options are, so they're not necessarily too limited in what they're looking for. So I think it might be helpful for you to see what I showed them. You're all artists, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about them. I'm just going to scroll through it really quickly. And I just want to make sure if your artwork does not look like any of this, that is 100% okay. This was just to get them thinking and talking about what they would like to see in their artwork. The first four are pieces that you can actually find in Philadelphia. It's close to the PMA. I think they were attracted to something like this, where you could insert yourself into the artwork. If you're not familiar with this, this was temporarily in Philadelphia, and there are names of women who have been really influential over time who deserve their own monuments. This is in response to the fact that most monuments are about men. You can find this piece on Penn campus. I'm sorry, actually not sure where this is. And so those were some of the ones from Philadelphia. The rest were branching out a little bit. With this piece, I talked about how the aesthetics are blending in with the environment, taking up characteristics, colors, and textures of the landscape. I think they were interested in that. Same thing. Yeah, these next few, I think, they're just seamlessly integrated with the environment. This one I think might be more of an example that is like very loud, so I don't know if the committee would necessarily be interested in this one, but they really did like the seating aspect, how people could sit on it. And then the next couple are things that you can walk through, be immersed by. They were interested in that. And I have just a couple more examples. This one I think would actually be kind of hard to maintain because there wouldn't necessarily be someone dedicated to ensuring that the plants stay alive. I really like it, but it might just be a little bit difficult with maintenance. And then I showed them a video of one of these pieces moving, and people really loved that. Okay, let's talk really quickly about what's going to go in this application. So the city's Percent for Art program consists of a two-stage public art competition, starting with an open call for artists. In part one, interested artists submit their qualifications and past artwork. Part two, a selected group of 3 artists will submit proposals for review. In part one, interested artists will submit their qualifications via an online application submittable that's free for everybody to use, where they will upload examples of prior artwork, an artist statement, and respond to short questions. You have until September 22nd to do that. Then, an internal evaluation to select the top 10 artists will be based on the following criteria. So, this is going to be the entire public art staff of Creative Philadelphia, along with the 2 arts professionals on our committee, reviewing every application. And this is the rubric that we're going to use to identify the top 10 artists that we will then give to the committee. Then the committee will evaluate those top 10 artists and they will select 3 finalists to move on to part two. So application requirements for part one. We're keeping it pretty simple. I hope it won't take too long to complete. So the first thing is just some basic demographic information, your name, address, phone number, email, etc. Then you want to give us your artist statement and you have to respond to 3 questions. Only 250 words max. So make sure you're not writing an essay and you can't fit it in. Keep it to the 250 words max. Remember, we're going to be looking at a lot of applications, so we do appreciate brevity. I mean, don't be so short that we don't understand what you're saying, but also don't feel obligated to go to 250 words. Like we won't consider you for some reason if you don't get there. Just say what you got to say, get in, get out. So question one. Why does this Percent for Art opportunity at Riverview Wellness Village interest you? Please note if you have experience working with communities in recovery or experiencing substance use disorder. So just a little tip. Sometimes I've noticed that people respond to this question where they're saying, oh, this would be good for me. Like it would be a huge challenge. I haven't worked on a project like this before. Make sure that you're not focusing too much on how you would gain or benefit from the project, but say why you are excited to help this community. What about your experience would you be able to bring to this opportunity that would then help help foster ownership of the artwork for the community. And if you have worked with communities in recovery or who are experiencing trauma in some way, we definitely want to know that. If you have personal lived experience and you feel comfortable telling us, you absolutely can because that would be so invaluable to the project. But please don't feel pressured to say that if you're not comfortable with it. Okay, question number 2. In what ways can you engage the staff and residents at the Riverview Wellness Village in the creation of your artwork? So I gave you some examples from previous projects, but again, it doesn't have to be like that at all. You know your artwork, you know what would be helpful, what would work. But yeah, just make sure you're creative with that. And finally, number three, how does your experience show your capacity to create permanent and large-scale outdoor sculptures? So let's say that you've only made sculptures so far in a gallery. It's really important that you address the fact that you haven't made permanent outdoor sculptures before. Make sure that you're justifying what skills you currently have that would allow you to make that leap. Or let's say that you're a painter and you know you have something really valuable to offer this project, but you have never made sculpture or like worked with construction folks to pour cement and foundations. I would recommend finding someone to join your team. I can already tell based on how many people who have applied that this is going to be an extremely competitive process. And I want everyone to have the best chance opportunity to get this as possible. So if you haven't already had a project on a similar scale, I still want you to apply. Just be smart about about how you apply, how you talk about your skills, or who you apply with. Marie, do you have anything to say about that?
I think that's great. You covered that all. Yeah. I would just again emphasize that like if you feel like you are lacking some skills in one area to complete the project, definitely team up with somebody else who can balance out and has those skills.
Great. Okay, and then to round out your application, you're going to submit 8 to 10 work samples in an acceptable file format, showcasing your previous artwork. These samples will be evaluated okay, I shouldn't have put that on there. Um, Please submit samples that demonstrate your ability to execute large-scale sculptures. At least 6 examples must feature projects that you personally designed. If you include examples for which you served only as a fabricator or assistant, clearly indicate this role on the image identification list and credit the design artist. Such assistant role samples should only be included to illustrate your technical capabilities and experience with large-scale sculpture projects. So for example, let's say you're a sculptor, but you've only been making things in a gallery, but you've been working as an assistant artist for someone else who's been making large scale projects and you have experience helping them fabricate that, it could be smart to include a couple of those examples to demonstrate, like, even though it hasn't been your design, you definitely know how to do it. Just in your image identification list, really make sure that you're clear that it wasn't your design. So part two, this is only going to be for the 3 finalists, but I'm going to talk about it really quick, just so you know what's coming up in case you happen to be one of the finalists. I'm almost done too. Okay, so the 3 finalists will attend an in-person pre-proposal meeting, site visit, and meet the artist event to gather input from the community. That's going to be all day on October 31st. And I just want to really point out that this is in person because we're getting a lot of applications from people who aren't in Philadelphia. If you are one of the finalists, you're going to find out about 3 weeks before October 31st. And so you would have to be willing to travel in person. And if you do not come in person, unfortunately, you would be disqualified. So the finalists are going to receive a $2,500 stipend to prepare a design proposal that includes written and visual materials. So you could use that $2,500 as a stipend to travel to Philadelphia if you're not from here. But it is important, I want to point it out, that you would not have that 2,500 right away to buy like your plane ticket or train ticket, whatever you need. You would be getting that, I don't know, 6 to 7 weeks after you find out that you're a finalist. So you would have to purchase the ticket yourself and then reimburse yourself. The finalists will present their proposals to the community during an artist show and tell, and an online public survey will be available for 4 weeks. And that's not a popularity contest. We don't allow people to say, put on Instagram or whatever, hey, I'm in a survey, go vote for me. Only Creative Philadelphia is allowed to share that to keep it more fair. Um, and then finalists will present their proposals to the committee, and the committee will vote to select a winning artist. This is just a slide to re-emphasize how important community engagement is. And then I just want to point out that this will be a long process. People can be surprised by that. So right here, we're in the 3 months planning stage. It's probably going to take us about 9 months to select the winning artist. Once that artist gets selected, they're going to have a couple months to just really finish off their design. And then we have to go in front of something called the Art Commission, which is the final approval body for any new piece of artwork that goes onto Philadelphia property. And then unfortunately, because we do work for the government, there is some red tape involved. So once it's time to enter into a contract with somebody, our lawyers are like going back and forth talking about what the contract could be. So it can take 3 to 5 months. And so it would probably be fall of 2027 before it would be time for you to start fabricating and installing your sculptures. Okay, this is my last slide. So don't forget, the deadline to apply is September 22nd at 11:59 p.m. We absolutely will not take late applications. And so please, please do not start your application at 11 p.m. because what if there's some kind of problem? Well, I won't be in the office at 11:50 to answer your question. If I were you, I would consider the deadline to be September 21. And then just notifications. All artists that apply will be notified of your selection. So we're not going to leave you hanging. Like if you didn't get selected, we're going to let you know because we value everybody's time. And then artists who are selected as finalists are you'll be required to just let us know that you want to move on to the next stage. And then if you want to learn more about this or other projects, here's the website to do so. And I am going to answer all of your questions right now. But if you have any other questions between now and that deadline, you can contact me. This is my email. But try to give me 7 days prior to the deadline so I can really have time to answer your question and then you have time to integrate it into your application. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up for questions. How about you can either physically raise your hand or use the little hand chat and uh, don't worry, we'll get to everybody. Okay, I see Maddie.
Hi, my name is Maddie Rodriguez. Thanks for having this. I have a couple questions about the application. Um, I guess the first thing I was wondering when we're kind of thinking about the three questions. So there's 250 words, like you mentioned. Thinking about the community engagement examples. I guess I was just curious because I feel like it can there's so much room for engagement if it feels more productive to kind of be really narrow and really specific about what I think I can do or what would be what I envision or kind of give a couple examples. Maybe just if you guys have insight on that.
I think initially people tend to maybe give a couple examples to see what people would latch on to. Because if you are a finalist, you'll then have an opportunity to refine it. So what you're putting in this application isn't necessarily set in stone. So I think giving people options could be helpful.
Okay, cool. And then I guess maybe thinking about that, is there an opportunity to volunteer or like meet people at the site before this like first round of presentations or like what we're giving forth, or is that only if you've been selected as the three artists?
I appreciate your willingness to jump in, but yeah, out of the privacy of the staff and residents, it would only be for the finalists. But at that point, you could do as much as you wanted.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it for me for now. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks. Okay, so it'll be Larry and then Nasir
Hello,
and
Paige.
then Leo.
Hello, Paige. It's Larry. Question: what types of things, since you have done this plenty of times before, what types of special conditions would the lawyers need for artist contracts?
Oh, wow, what a question. Um, I honestly, so it's the same contract every time. So I don't understand actually why it takes a while for it to go out. But it's just standard stuff in a contract. It would include uh, what milestones you would have to hit to receive payments. We usually break payments up into four little chunks. Like you would get some when you sign, and then it would be like you'd get a little bit more when you finish community engagement, and then you get a little bit more when it's 50% complete, and then you'd get the rest at the end. And you would also just be saying things like you're giving the city like copyright, like so that we could take images of the piece and put them in publications, and that you're also basically giving the piece to the city and that we would be responsible for conserving it and that you wouldn't be. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. And then I think it was Nasir.
Yeah, hi. Hi everyone. Thanks for being on this call and thanks for all the information. I just had a really quick question. I just wanted to know, the deck that you shared, will that be available after for us to access and kind of refer back to just to have the information?
Yeah, I can send it to everybody. I'm going to be at an all-day retreat tomorrow, but I'll send it on Monday.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Leo?
Hi, um, my name's Leo. I'm an artist who splits his time between Philly and Toronto. I just have one question about the application. Is there any room within the application for references, uh, particularly for other team members like foundries or civil engineers or architects who I've worked with before, who others have worked with before?
Yeah, I would put all of that in question 3 when it
Okay.
says, well, how does it phrased exactly? So question 3 is, how does your experience show your capacity to create permanent and large-scale outdoor sculptures? So you could say,
Mhm.
I've worked with this foundry, this person would be on my team, etc.
Okay, got it. And will Creative Philadelphia be following up with any references provided or team members within public art or
No, we
okay,
won't. Yeah, it'll just
got it.
be based off your application. Yeah,
Hmm.
and then, yeah, I mean, the final one, you'll have the opportunity to make a mock-up of what the artwork would be. And so,
Mhm.
it'll be based off of that, but you'll also be interacting with people if you're a finalist, like doing the community engagement. So I
Mhm.
think people will just be getting a sense of who you are from you as opposed to your references.
And when it comes time for the artwork to be made and installed, will the artist be responsible for providing a civil engineer and a tradespeople and someone, or is that someone else?
Thank you so much. I meant to talk about that and I didn't. So normally the way we work is that we give the full budget to the artist and you have to do all of that. However, we've gotten a lot of feedback from artists over the years that that is quite difficult. So while the budget for this project, what is the budget? Something like 525,000.
Yeah.
So I should know that. Um, so
That's
that
correct.
Thank you guys. Together we'll come up with the answer. In addition to the 525,000, the city has reserved over just a little over 200,000. And so we're going to be responsible for pouring the foundations, working with an engineer, and if there are any lighting requirements, that's where it'll come out of that pot of money. So you would still have to work with us in a sense of like, making sure that our engineers are like they have your plans and things like that, but we're going to try to help out as much as possible. So the 525, that will include your artist stipend, and we force everyone to take 18% for a design fee. So you definitely have to walk away with that. However, you could pay yourself even more than that if you wanted, especially if you're going to be fabricating it. So yeah, it goes toward the design fee, any fabrication that you need, paying for the materials. Everybody needs insurance, so things like that. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Right. William?
Uh, yes.
Hey,
Oh, I'm sorry.
which William, is it me or?
Oh, William Nemitov?
Okay, that's me. Hi. Yeah, so I had a follow-up question about the funding set aside for lighting. So if we are finalists and want to integrate the lighting within the art piece itself, so there wouldn't be any exterior lighting, is there a possibility of allocating some of that additional funding into the art piece?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is an experiment, so we'll just have to work it out. But we try to be as accommodating as possible. So I don't know like exactly the mechanism of how it's going to work out, but we would just constantly be in conversation with each other about it.
Great. Thank you.
Leo's got another question?
Sorry, another quick question. In terms of the recovery program at the center, do you know any details of that you can share, like how long people typically stay and what changes to the program are being implemented along with the new structure?
So it's rather new. I
Okay.
think that people have only been there for 4 or 5 months, so I think it's a little hard to answer how long people are going to be staying there. But I think that they want to just, be as, I wish that I knew more. I don't think that they're saying, oh, by X date you have to get out. I think they're working with,
Mhm.
people as individuals to make a determination. But because it's so new, I'm not really sure like the typical length. But even beyond just it being a residential facility, I know that people are receiving a lot of other types of like therapy support, and there are a lot of job readiness programs as well. I know that some people who are living there are already like going off campus every day and working a job, but some people are participating in training experiences. And I think that there are also just a lot of other activities that people can participate in. Like there's a lot of sports stuff and arts classes that people can do.
In the interest of serving the requirement that it um, foster like a healthy environment and for recovery and just general health and so on, is there a way that we can learn more about the programs that are offered there? Like, for example, whether, you know, a new group of people is going to be seeing the work every 3 months or 6 months
Oh,
or so on and so on.
yeah, I think that, yeah, that's really important to point out. I think it will constantly be like new folks who are interacting with it. So I
Mhm.
had previously worked on a project with someone who we were working with a very similar population, and one of the things that he did was make a memorial wall where he took tiles and people who were using the facility could write
Yeah.
down the names of loved ones who had passed away, or they were writing positive affirmations. But it was people who had like a long-term interaction with the site. And I was thinking something like that wouldn't necessarily make sense at Riverview because there would constantly be new people. So I think that would be the challenge for all of you as artists. How do you foster a sense of ownership for people who might be interacting with the piece for the first time?
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Oh, and then you were also saying, is there a way to learn a little bit more? I think you could go to the website. I don't think that there's that much currently, but there would be so many resources provided to you once you're a finalist. In the meantime, I think you could just uh, research harm reduction, and see what kind of treatments are normally offered for, people in recovery. So I see William Dodge's hand. And Bill, did you raise your hand for a second? Okay, we're going to do William, Bill, Ray, and then Maddie.
Hey, just yeah, it's funny. There's like seven Bills or Williams on this call. You could tell it was a popular name for a handful of years there. Just quick question. Who was the architect, and do you know who the landscape architect was on this project? I'm just curious.
Um, should have their names memorized.
I
Let
think
me,
it was Ground Reconsidered, right?
oh yeah, Grant, yeah, the organization was definitely ground reconsidered.
Okay, that's the
Um,
only.
and the architects were Ballinger.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious. I think all the rest of my questions have more or less been answered. Actually, one quick question. I know that you guys are giving preference to Philly artists. We're teamed with a Philly artist project manager. So if I haven't looked at the submittable yet, but if it asks for from Philly, I don't know if there's a yes, no, or whatever. We just put that in the text that we have somebody from Philly representing our team locally.
Yeah, th-
Okay.
yeah, that'll so you'll put each person in one at a time, and you actually put in everybody's address, and
Okay.
probably want to put the Philly person first.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Okay.
Okay,
Cool. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. I think who did I say was Bill? Bill,
Bill
Ray, and
Fish.
then Maddie. Okay.
Yes, one of the previous Williams asked a question about electricity, which you answered properly. But also, I often include an intern with my public art projects, usually a young person from graduate school or whatever who's interested in pursuing public art. And I wondered if your program has any sort of an intern program that we could access to get them in if we become chosen to do the project.
Well, I think that's a beautiful idea, especially for people who are more experienced to give somebody an opportunity so that, at some point they could have enough qualifications to apply. Um, we don't specifically have an intern program, but if you want to do that, it would just come out of your project budget as a way to pay that person. But if you are going to do that, I think it's a really lovely idea. Make sure that you mention that in your application.
Okay.
Ray and then Maddie.
Yes, I have two questions. Is the site accessible to walk around, to try to drive there and to walk around the site? Is the construction kind of a fenced off area? Can I look at where the river is in proximity to the buildings that are being constructed? That's the first question.
So you actually have to go through a security guard to go onto the campus. So you can't do that right now. It would just be once you become a finalist that you get access to the facility. Um, well, actually, there is a walking path, right, Marie?
There is, yeah, there's a walking path on the outside of there's a walking path on the inside of the facility and on the outside of the facility right by the river.
Yeah.
So
So there
I'm
are,
not sure what the entry point is, but
yeah,
sure it can be found. It's along the Delaware River.
So I could discover where it is along the river.
yeah.
Good. Okay, I love the river, and I wanted to see the proximity and see what the vibe is. The other thing is, are the patients or the people that are there, are they are they recovering? Are they committed by a judge, or are they volunteering to be there?
They're,
You know?
yeah, I think mostly volunteer to be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not really critical, but I'm just curious. I've worked with another facility where it's volunteer only. Okay, thank you.
It was Maddie, and then we'll do Larry.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, I guess I maybe as kind of a follow-up question to maybe that last question from Ray and what Leah was asking earlier. I guess when I had looked up the Riverview Wellness Village online, it was talking a lot about homelessness reduction in Philadelphia and that there's like a 12-month kind of program that goes along with the addiction recovery, which obviously those can be very connected. Is that, am I maybe looking at a different place or does that sound related to what you guys are talking about?
Yeah, I think that sounds right. For people who aren't familiar with Philadelphia, we are being hit really hard by the opioid epidemic. There's one neighborhood in particular called Kensington, where I would say like the open air drug market is happens. And there are a large amount of people who are experiencing homelessness. And so Riverview Wellness Village is somewhat in response to that, like understanding that there is a great need for people who are going through this. Like they need people need support if they're in that position. Like people can't just all of a sudden stop using. And it's also not, you're not able to stop using quickly. And so the point is that it should be long-term help, that people aren't going to be um, like, oh, we're going to help you for a month and now you're on your own. So it's a more holistic solution.
Yeah, I want to add a little bit to that because I remember when we did the walkthrough, they talked about, first people are in a 90-day program and then they come to the facility and then there's sort of like phased um stays that people have. Like so you would be like in a group dormitory to start with, and then you move to like living with like one roommate, and then they also have like solo housing too, and it increasingly gets more independent as they're doing like those skill building programs and stuff and job readiness. So like it's really designed to be like an actual support system.
And I think they're still trying to figure things out as they go. I remember them talking about how, maybe a couple would come and Like right now, they do have people separated into dormitories, but that would be a barrier. Maybe somebody wouldn't want to come if they couldn't live with their partner. So yeah, I think they're just playing around and trying to figure out the best way
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, they were
Even
saying
yeah,
something. Oh, yeah, they were saying something about like, yeah, they're trying to work out if they can do like partners living with one another and like not separating them and people and their pets also is a possibility.
yeah. I wish that I had a staff member from Riverview here so that they could talk about it a little bit more. But yeah, I hope we're trying to do our best. Larry, I think was the next.
Yeah, I was just for people who wanted to go on site, I've been, as you guys were talking, I'm playing on Google Maps with the street view and satellite view to
Mm,
get a sense of the area. So people could do that as well. That's all I wanted to say.
that's wonderful. Thank you. Oh, and I was gonna say earlier, the Riverview Wellness Village, there is a fence around it. But then yeah, if you did find that one access point, you could do the walking trail. All right. What other questions do you have for me?
But she's got braces.
Maddie?
Hi, sorry. So many questions.
Oh,
Um, I think in one of the questions there was a mention, or maybe when with the list of goals, there was a mention of considering honoring the site's history. I was curious if that was kind of thinking about the history of it previously working with elder care or something, or maybe if you could just speak more to the history of that space.
yeah, I think that would be up for your interpretation. I do remember one committee member in particular was really interested in tying it to Philadelphia somehow. She spoke about how people need to feel like they belong, and in order to feel that you belong, you need to understand what it is you are belonging to. So I think it's, yeah, up for interpretation. It could be the site's history, it could be Philadelphia, it could be something about the world, but yeah, how are people connected and having a shared experience? We want to try to keep the artwork goals as loose as possible so that you still have a lot of room to, play with. And like, admittedly, these 5 goals, it's already a lot. And it's like, well, how do I do all 5 of them? And, if you're selected as a finalist, you might end up leaning into 1 or 2 of them more than the others. But this will hopefully just help give you an idea because they were created by the people who will be voting. So you got to kind of appease to them a little bit. Ray and then William. And
You
did I see John? Yeah.
when you showed the views of the oversight, you showed the original buildings that were there. Are they still being incorporated into the facility? The dining, is that a dining hall, that large square building? That's part of the pathway, and then the new buildings are primarily residential. Is that the way it's working?
Yes. So the older buildings are currently in use, and I know some of them actually are already residential. And I believe that the new facilities, yeah, maybe it is primarily residential. I don't remember exactly.
It looks residential because I don't see any big kind of window walls or spaces, but
Mhm.
so the original construction is going to be integrated into the whole site. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me pull it back up really quick so you can see it. Um, okay, you guys can see this? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I
Yes.
remember them talking about how they don't want it to look like totally new, right? Or like that it's out of place. And so all of the pre-existing buildings are 1 story, and then they made this one 3 stories and this one 5, and they were talking about like the ascension, and how hopefully if you're standing over here and you're looking, it's like going up on the horizon, which maybe even symbolically, like you could be thinking about like lifting up into the sky, going on a journey. But they're going to have the new addition be as seamless as possible so that everything will feel integrated.
And do you know the orientation east-west? Is that, are the new buildings on an east-west axis with that kind of alley in between
This
facing
is
the river?
this is north right here, and then the river is down here. And
Sorry, I
so,
can't see
yeah.
your cursor just
Oh,
yet.
the big buildings, this one all the way on the
Okay,
right,
yes.
that, yeah, in that direction is north. And then where that tiny car is at the bottom, the river is past that.
Okay, all right. So it looks like it's east-west or orientation. Yes. Okay,
I've
thank
totally
you.
lost track. You're welcome. I've lost track of who I said was speaking next.
It was me.
Okay.
So you might have already touched on this. I hopped on a little bit late, but I know in the brief it said, no proposals at this point, but I feel like there's like a kind of fine line between like a creative direction and a proposal. So can you give a little bit of guidance in terms of like how much of an idea to have in writing, whereas not while not having a full proposal?
I would say most people who apply don't go into their project at all, but I don't think that it would hurt, especially in the first question. So let me find that again. The first question is, why does this percent for art opportunity at Riverview Wellness Village interest you? So you could get into it a little bit. I would say in that question, if you want, you absolutely don't have to. Um, I would say maybe if you have less experience making permanent outdoor sculpture, wouldn't hurt to hear your idea, but please don't spend too much time on it. We're not giving you any money to work on this yet.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Did you have your hand up at one point? Yeah, John and then Leo.
So, I'm just curious if in or this project or other projects in Philadelphia, um, if the artist brings their own crew, are there prevailing wage laws within the city and with these type of projects?
Yes, we're a union city, and all of the finalists will be given a document with prevailing wages.
Okay.
Leo?
Quick question. How much latitude will we have for, or will the selected artist have for maybe pushing the location boundaries a little? Like suppose someone was making three pieces, uh, and two of them were in the indicated areas, but one was closer to the river, or one was proposed as being on one of the green spaces I saw on top of the roofs of the residencies.
I think that you probably, if you're a finalist, could have some creative freedom if you were able to justify why you want to put something somewhere else.
Okay.
But did you say putting it on a roof? I'm just worried
I
about.
noticed in the overhead that the roofs were green spaces.
Oh, yeah, I think those are. I don't think that they can go up there though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it might just be, like for rainwater drainage or something like that.
Yeah, just in
Um,
general, how much latitude? A little bit?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there will be a little bit, as long as, it stays within budget. I just think roof pieces are really expensive, so
Okay, got it. Thank you.
yeah. Anyone else? Wow, it's 7 p.m. You guys, we are so punctual. Okay, this has been a delight. I'm so excited to see your applications. Uh, Good luck to everyone. And seriously, please reach out with any additional questions you have. I'm very friendly. I won't bite. No question is a bad question. Um, but yes, thank you so much for your time. Oh, Larry's got one more question.
Yeah, this recording is going to be made available, right?
Yes. And again, I'm going to be in an all-day meeting tomorrow, so I'm going to start working on that on Monday. So I'll send you all the slides and I'll put the meeting recording up so you can refer back to it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Night, everybody.